Hello, it is Stephanie from Unveiling the Spirit, and today I want to talk a bit about something that might not seem very spiritual, but it is, and it's about race. I'll explain a little bit more why it's the spiritual aspect of race towards the end, but for this video, I want to focus on more of my own personal experiences with racism. I have a lot of other videos that I am going to make and that I have made concerning racism. But again, for this one, I want to focus on my own personal experiences because you have a lot of people that say racism is not real. And I just want to give, for those who are interested in learning, an idea of what racism looks like. Also, I feel like it's my responsibility as a Black American with whatever platform I have, big or small, to be a voice for Black people and to help people understand what we actually go through, because we cannot make changes about things that we're not aware of. And so that is what I want to talk about today. So to give you a little bit of information about me, I was born in Chicago and I was raised there, and I lived there until I was 15 years old. In Chicago, it was predominantly Black. I did come into contact with whites sometimes, but it was usually, especially on a regular basis, where my teachers at school, some were white. We had some white drug addicts that frequented our neighborhood. And then there was one or two white families, but there was no emphasis or attention made to the fact that they were white. I never heard anybody talking about it, and it was never an issue. I never heard anybody insulting them about it or anything. So I didn't even realize that race was a thing. I mean, you have kids that people say kids don't see race. Yes, kids see race. They see that your skin is different from their skin. They see that your hair is different from their hair. They can make observations, but they don't understand the societal, what that means in a society, the labels that society puts on race until they get older. So when I was younger, I had no idea that being Black meant anything. I just thought I was Black. I didn't had no idea that being white meant anything. I just saw white people and then sometimes other races. And so it wasn't until I moved into a predominantly white area that my Blackness became very real to me, that it had a meaning and was perceived by other people in certain ways. And so in seeing in some of the ways that I began to see that was, so for example, in high school, and I was in a small town with a predominantly white area, it was kind of boring at times, and us kids, we would try to find something to entertain ourselves. So something that was very common was for people to get together in groups in parking lots with their cars or their parents' cars and just hang out. Now, as a Black kid at the time, me and my peers knew very well that we were not allowed to do that. If we tried, we were very quickly broken up by police almost every time and told that we couldn't do that. And we saw that whites were not broken up. I mean, when you're broken up and you see all of your friends being, driving away or scattering the area, and then you drive 2 blocks down the street and you see those same cops that stop you guys pass larger groups of even white kids, and they are allowed to, gather, it's something that you notice, and so on top of that, being in these predominantly white areas, I have been pulled over by the police and followed a lot. I have been followed more than I've been pulled over, but I can spot right away when I'm about to be followed. A lot of times is if I have something on my head, like a scarf or a hat, or it depends what kind of car I'm driving. But I can tell when I'm passing a police officer if they're watching me, and I can tell when they're going to turn around and follow me. And so I have been followed many times. I know when they're following me, they're running my plates, and they're waiting for me to make some type of mistake that would justify me being pulled over. And so it's very stressful when you're driving under those conditions. I have even had a couple of friends, guy friends, Black guy friends, who have had accidents because the police are following them and they're getting nervous. And so it's a reality for Black people, that an everyday reality for Blacks. Now, there have been times that I have been pulled over for no reason at all. One time an officer pulled me over and he did not have a reason. And when I asked him why he was pulling me over, he proceeded to scan my car for a reason and settled on a graduation tassel that was hanging on my rearview mirror and said he was pulling me over for obstruction of view. During this stop, he's asking me where I'm going, what am I doing, things like that. And it was just very awkward, and I knew he did not have a real reason to pull me over other than the fact that I have dark skin. So another time I was pulled over by an officer, and I was pregnant at the time, very pregnant, very visibly pregnant, and I had kids in the car, and I was just running my husband to work. And he lived very close. I think I still even had my house shoes on, so I left my purse in the house. So when the officer pulled me over and I told him that I left my purse in the house and I gave him my name and things like that, he asked me if I had a warrant out for my arrest. And I told him several times that I did not have a warrant out for my arrest. He did not believe me. This encounter lasted about 10 or 15 minutes. And within this 10 or 15 minute time, he asked me no less than 10 times about me having a warrant for my arrest. At one point, he even begged and pleaded with me to be honest with him, assuring me that he would take it easy on me if I was, and even asked me to call somebody to come and get my kids. And I told this officer that I have never been in jail, I have never been in the back of a police car, let alone in handcuffs, and that I did not have a warrant for my arrest. Eventually, I am not sure why, but he let me go. But this is just one of the things, an example of the type of things black people have to deal with in this country. Other things, one time I was staying at a hotel, and every single time I came out of my room to use any of the hotel's facility, I was accused and harassed. I was accused of mismanaging the pool area. They had a breakfast buffet. I was accused of eating up all the food. I was accused of taking extra dishes. I mean, it was just I could not leave my room without them complaining about me doing something. And I knew it was because I was black. And so, other things, accused of stealing, people following you, watching you in stores. Oftentimes when I'm in school, I am by my teachers, they are very surprised that I'm smart or that I'm not dumb, and they make little comments like they just, wow, you think. Yes, I do think, and so a lot of times I just ignored these things, which I will go into talking about in a different video. But it is very stressful to live under these conditions, especially in the workplace, when people are always accusing you of things, misjudging you as though you are somehow dumb or stupid or something like that, that you're always lying and stealing. You're always constantly being watched. I worked somewhere where my boss, it was a telephone company, a telemarketer of some kind. My boss was always listening to my calls and then critiquing me unnecessarily on very small things. And even blowing small things mistakes I make totally out of proportion, when I would see other whites making the same mistakes and nothing was told to them, and they were encouraged to keep trying that they would get it. And so it's just really irritating. It's annoying. It's disheartening, especially when I hear people say that racism is not real, because it is something that I have dealt with on a very daily basis. I will tell you another aspect of racism that a lot of people deal with, and then I'll go ahead and wrap this up, which is this constant pressure to represent black people well. So especially when you're in these predominantly white areas, you are well aware of the stereotypes about blacks, and you feel immense pressure to represent your race in a different light. Sometimes this makes you overly nice, which means you can't be upset or threatening in any way, because anytime you explain any type of emotion in that direction, it's looked at as a threat. So you have to be nice, you have to be kind, you have to be intelligent, you have to constantly show your boss you're capable of doing your work. I've had people not want to work with me because I was black. It's very stressful to always feel like you are being judged from a negative perspective before you're even given a chance to show who you are, skin or no skin. And so it's very real, and I think it increases blacks' stress in the workplace, having to deal with things like this. Life is already hard enough as it is, taking care of family, taking care of yourself, working, paying bills. But to have the added stress on top of that, of all these racial cues, racial words, racial pressure, things like that, it makes life very difficult for blacks. And it's a lot of stuff that most whites have no idea, which is where the term white privilege comes in, because you have a privilege of not knowing what it's like to live like that. It's a privilege to, and from our standpoint, because we have to live that way for when we didn't even do anything. And so so that's it. I mean, there's many other examples. I was denied an apartment once because I was black. I had my white friend call. They told her it was available. It happens all the time. And so the reason why I say that racial issue is also a spiritual issue is because race is connected to your identity, and whatever is connected to your identity is connected to your spirit. And so a lot of the times, all these racial pressures from outside definitely affect blacks' identity. I do want to go into that into another video, and that's why it's so important that we talk about this and discuss these things and expose these things, not only for racism to be dismantled, but also to allow people, minorities, the dignity to grow and heal from these things, as opposed to it affecting the way that they perceive themselves and the way they operate within their society. So that's it, and those are my experiences about being black in America. Again, that's just the tip of the iceberg, and I am grateful that I haven't experienced any seriously overt racism as far as someone trying to hurt me or actually calling me a nigger, which happened once. But most of it is subtle, but it's something that you have to live with. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys got something out of this. If you have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to comment or email me. I'll be more than happy to answer them. In the meantime, you have a nice day. Thank you so much. Bye.